Hello, universe. Welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Kristy Jansen.
And I'm Amelia Buckley.
And we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy podcast. Today is Friday, the 11th of December, 2020. How are you, Kristy?
Oh, I'm just fine and dandy. So far, nobody's experiencing anything more than anxiety in my household, so we're good.
Good. I'm glad to hear
it. No actual sickness, thank goodness. But yeah, it's been strange, having every member of the house kind of in their own section of the house, to keep quarantined from each other for right now.
I'm not sure what I would do. We have 2 people in my house, so I share a bedroom with my roommate, and then our other roommate has her own room. So we basically decided that if someone were to be exposed, we would just reshuffle around, and whoever was exposed would be in quarantine in their own in the single room.
Yeah.
But it would be tough. We have kind of a small apartment.
Yeah, I know. That's what people don't realize is that Santa Barbara, that's what is required to live here, that people have to actually have roommates.
Yeah.
It's not just housemates, but actual roommates. So I was thinking this today, that last year around this time was a very different kind of feeling. I think I was getting ready to do my Christmas traveling. I think I spent last Christmas in Florida with my family down there. And it was like a fun trip. We all went and got some sun, some heat in the winter time. Where were you last Christmas time, Amelia?
I actually, this day last year, I had just gotten to Chile, to Patagonia, because I was still in college last year. So I had, most of the month of December off, which I took advantage of. My mom turned 60 this year. So to commemorate that, the 2 of us went backpacking in Patagonia for 10 days, which was amazing, but pretty sad to look back and think that at this point last year, I was probably envisioning another grand adventure for December of 2020, and that has not quite panned out. But cherishing the memories of last year and looking forward to when we can travel again.
Yeah, it's sort of just mind-boggling how tremendously different this year is from 2019. And I just hope that 2021 is tremendously different than this year, only in the opposite direction. It is more fun and free, and we solve some of the issues that we've been dealing with. And I hope that, we actually can have an economic lift while keeping some of the good things, for example, like the advances in defunding carbon. That was our headline today. We're not going to focus on that, but the lead story is that New York's pension is now divesting from fossil fuels. And I think that's another sign of the times that it's just not a good investment to stay in that industry. Keep your money there. And so that's I think a positive thing. But let's see what happens in this next year, and I hope it gets better.
I know, me too. I did see that the FDA went through the first phase of approving the Pfizer vaccine. So fingers crossed something good comes out of that next week.
Yes, absolutely. Of course.
Even though you and I will not be probably receiving that vaccine anywhere near the top of the priority list, but still a positive news.
It's good. There is a bit of a light at the end of that tunnel. But and today's Friday. Do you have any plans for the weekend, Amelia? It'll be fun.
I actually do have kind of fun plans. So my little quarantine pod includes my house and then my boyfriend's house also, and his roommate's boss is lending us his vacation home for the weekend. It's not that far. It's only about an hour from here, but he's letting his house use it. So we're going to go up there for the weekend, which should be fun. Almost like a little staycation. It's pretty close, but looking forward to that. And it's nice. It's out in the middle of nowhere, so we're just going to drive straight there, and we were like, it's close enough. We don't have to stop for gas, so we're just going to go there and be there all weekend and then drive straight back. So
nice. That's really nice. Yeah, I'm going to stay in my house. That's what I'm going to do. And hope that nobody develops any symptoms.
Are you at least watching like a good Netflix show or something
Yeah,
to keep yourself entertained and distracted?
I've started watching The Crown. I started this, I'm in like the second season now, so that's really good. I'm really enjoying that.
Have you seen Queen's Gambit? I think you would love it.
Oh yeah, we already got through that one. We've
All
gone
the way
through
through?
all of most of it, like that was like 6 weekends ago.
Oh, okay. I'm behind apparently.
Anyway, so what are we going to talk about today? What's the article that you wanted to highlight for our listeners, Amelia?
Well, mine actually addresses a couple different issues. It talks about a Swiss nightclub that has actually transformed itself into a blood bank during the pandemic. So obviously the nightclub shut down with all the lockdowns, but they decided to reopen as a blood bank because a lot of donation sites for blood banks are facing real shortages right now because people around the world are staying home. They're less comfortable going out to donate blood. So there's actually kind of a blood shortage happening. So they were like, well, this is an opportunity for us to still serve a purpose in the community and meet this medical need that's really pressing right now. So the nightclub is located in Lausanne. It's my best stab at pronunciation.
Yeah, it's Switzerland.
In Switzerland. And instead of being stocked with DJs and bartenders, it's stocked with nurses and blood donors who are, just operating it as a blood bank. And the manager actually said that it was really heartbreaking to see the club that has existed for over 30 years kind of shutter down. So it's really uplifting to see it take on another role in the community. Kind of a positive story in terms of repurposing some of our facets of our communities that are closed right now and meeting a need that's really pressing. And it would be pretty cool if we could see this happen in the US. So maybe we could see this happen in our communities here.
Yeah, and I mean, it reminds me of over the election season when stadiums were being used as voting sites. I am a regular blood donor, as I have been for most of my adult life. And so I'm now getting calls from the blood banks asking me to donate because there is a shortage, I think, in the country. And it'd be great. So if we can, and once I feel comfortable to go back out and know for sure that whatever exposure might have come into our household is not here, maybe I'll go and donate blood because they've actually called me twice in the last week.
I couldn't donate for a while because I lived in Europe during the swine flu. So there was there's a timeline where you couldn't donate after that. But I think I'm good now because I think the swine flu is it's 3 to 5 years or something since you've lived there. So I should look into donating also.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do. And you've probably got young, healthy blood. So that's good, Amelia.
Blood to spare.
Anyway, well, the article that I wanted to highlight today, the headline reads, Yale study finds e-waste in the U.S. is on the decline in recent years. And I think this is actually a super positive story. And it's a pleasant surprise because we are so inundated with electronic waste. And that has been a problem. And it's something that I've paid attention to with our overabundance of electronics. They're not built to last super long. Plus, there's a huge renewal cycle. And, the computer you got 5 years ago may not even connect to the internet today because of the advances, how quickly things are going. But in fact, a recent study conducted by the Yale School of the Environment has discovered that since 2015, the U.S. footprint of electronic waste has declined. It's shrunk. And one of the main contributors is that the big, bulky cathode ray tubes, like televisions and old-fashioned computer monitors, those have now been pretty much gotten out of the waste stream because those are not being created anymore. And instead, we're dealing with smaller, lighter electronics. And also, it's a signal of a shift in the approach to recycling, which in the past was really the main goal of recycling e-waste was to keep lead and mercury and these kinds of minerals that are extraordinarily toxic out of the landfills so that they didn't leach into the environment. But now there's more of an interest in actually recovering the elements. And I think it's something that I have been studying and looking at. But cobalt, which is used in traditional batteries, indium found in flat panel displays, lithium and also in batteries. These are elements which aren't quite as toxic as lead and mercury, but they're still not great for leaching into the groundwater. And not only that, because they're pretty rare and valuable, if we can figure out a way to extract those and recycle them, it'll actually be a way of getting closer to that circular economy and actually recapturing those minerals from the waste stream will bring them in because they don't degrade. They do need to be processed and purified and, sort of reused. But like aluminum, they are infinitely more recyclable than things like plastic, which you can't really recycle. Anyway, I think this is an interesting article and I wanted to highlight it this morning.
I think that's really cool. And you were talking about how recycling has gotten more advanced. And I think people have also started prioritizing electronics recycling. I think when, tech advancements started going mainstream, we didn't really have any of the infrastructure to recycle electronics. We were kind of inundated with this flood of like, oh, what do we do with these products that are everywhere now that we don't know what to do when we're done with them? But I think a lot of communities have really stepped up their recycling efforts. I know that Santa Barbara County will actually charges you to leave stuff at the dump, but allows electronic recycling for free. So you can recycle electronics without a charge because they're really trying to cut back on e-waste and make the most of recycling those metals like you were talking about. So I think it's very cool. It's cool to see that these efforts are paying off in terms of overall waste.
And I think going forward, the goal, and I know that this is what is informing even some of the manufacturers, is you have to build these, like, for example, electric car batteries. You have to build them such that they are easier to disassemble. It's not really recycling, but actually it's like you produce them and then you unproduce them, basically, as opposed to chopping them up. I mean, the way that metals recycling is done is it just sort of chops it up or it melts it down. And that's very intensive in terms of the amount of energy required to do that kind of recycling.
That reminds me of that brewery that we wrote about that's I believe it's in Denmark. Yeah, it was in Copenhagen, where the entire building was built with like Lego construction in mind. So they built it to be completely disassemblable so that, at the end of its life, if the building wasn't serving a purpose or had to be moved or something, they could just completely take it apart and put it back together somewhere else. I thought that was so interesting.
And it's that kind of reimagining both the construction and also then the end of life, creating something with the end of its useful life in mind so that you can, instead of just throwing it away and piling it up in a big pile in the back of a town, those spaces are getting scarcer and scarcer, right? You actually figure out how to repurpose the materials that went into that. And, it's the whole circle of life kind of model instead, which I love. All right. Well, what else is on today's solutions, Amelia?
Well, other stuff we have, the one you touched on, that New York is divesting its pension fund from fossil fuels, which is big because it's located in the financial capital of the world. And it's also really influences the behavior of other retirement funds. We have 5 foods that will help lift your mood all winter long. Could be good if you're feeling those winter blues. Jack Dorsey donates $15 million to fund more guaranteed income pilots. This is something that a lot of wealthy Americans are investing in right now. Andrew Yang has pioneered guaranteed income programs.
Mayor Tubbs in Stockton has been a sort of one of the leading proponents there. It'd be interesting to see what happens from these pilots and see if they actually inform federal policy going forward. Especially when thinking about things like divesting from fossil fuels, a lot of people in our country and around the world are working in those industries. So what happens when those industries are no longer generating the kinds of incomes or profit, when it becomes not an industry that makes sense, and also automation. So yeah, I think that's what the universal basic income is designed to address, is the changing in labor around the world. So something we're following. It's good.
Yep.
What else?
As always, we have a cute animal story. We have Animal Park welcomes birth of critically endangered Sumatran orangutan. And this is a pretty adorable photo. I would go take a look at it. And then the world's first reef credit system lets companies help save coral reefs. I haven't read into that one and exactly how the program works, but definitely sounds intriguing. We have an app that helps people keep their communities free of litter. Living in a beach town, that one is definitely interesting to me. You see a lot of trash on the beach. And these tools are designed to help deliver surplus food to those in need. So kind of rectifying some of the supply and demand disconnect in our food system. And last but not least, our final story is out of this world, quite literally. NASA announces 18 astronauts training for the Artemis moon landing. So hopefully we will see some of these astronauts stepping foot on the moon for the first time this century.
I found this one really exciting. I almost chose it for my main story. Of the team of 18 astronauts who are starting to train, 9 of them have been in space before, 9 of them have not. And the thing that's remarkable about this particular group of astronauts is that it's 50% men and 50% women. And so that's, just an acknowledgement of that human bodies are both male and female. And so it'll be interesting to see, it's possible that if one of the women who are training now gets selected for the maiden voyage, we may have the first woman set foot on the moon.
Very exciting. One small step for women, one big step for gender equality?
For maybe, yeah. And humankind.
Yeah.
But so that's it for today's Optimist Daily Update. Thanks everybody for listening, and we hope that you have a fantastic weekend coming up. We promise to keep sharing these positive solution-based stories with ideas on how you can participate in this changing world to help ensure it is changed for the good. And we promise to keep covering current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and the reframing that makes things make more sense, and keep offering you this information to help chart new paths for all of us.
And if you like what we're doing here at the Optimist Daily, we hope you do, please consider becoming an emissary on the optimistdaily.com. And for just $5 a month or more, you can support reader-funded independent journalism and be part of the solution, changing consciousness and addressing our world's biggest challenges with a problem-solving mindset. Help us keep the Optimist Daily free to all who need it, supported by those who can.
Thanks so much, Amelia. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye, Kristy.
Talk to everybody on Monday when Summers should be back.